guys, Eddie back with Couch Talk. Welcome back to the show. If it's your first time with me, welcome to the show. Guys, please hit like, please hit subscribe, turn your notifications on. It really helps me out with the algorithm, and I need all the help I can get. Pretty quick one today, guys. I just wanted to talk about mainstream media and whether or not we can trust it, how to get your news sources today in this world of political uncertainty. And, it occurred to me the other day that I really don't discuss my process much on this channel. So I wanted to delve a little bit more deeply into that because I was researching a topic and I realized that just to get the news that I need, that I feel comfortable with for this channel, I had to look at hours of video reading, hours of script, of text, just to find all the facts. Because what I found was, something will happen, right? Whatever. Let's say Trump's indictment, for example, and then I'll go on TV and I'll see what Fox News has to say about it. But that's not enough. And guys, I'm telling you, if you stop there, you are missing half the world, if not more. You're probably missing 70% of the world. Because then I had to go to MSNBC and see what they had to say about it. Then I went to some independent channels to see what they had to say about it. Then I started reading and fact-checking those things online. Now, aside from the fact that this is probably just a good process anyway for everybody when they take in new data, when they take in new facts, to kind of check, that one source and then counterbalance it against a source with the opposite ideology and then fact check the items individually. That's a really good process for anyone to take. But there's a more basic fundamental problem here, and that is that the media is intrinsically untrustworthy. And I think it's changed over the last 50 or so years, right? Back in the day, the gold standard was that the news reported the news. Now, even then there were agendas, right? It's not like agendas, political agendas just popped up overnight, right? But the news was still essentially the news. And actually, one of the great things about the news is that it was essentially skeptical all the time, right? And so let's say you had a politician in office, didn't matter who it was, if there was a scandal, it was going to be covered, right? If there was a situation that needed to be delved into, a story to find, they would go hunt for it because finding that news was what was important. But it is no longer find a story, dive into it, and then report it. Now what happens is they look for what they would like to happen, and then they find a story that matches it, and then they report it. And that's a fundamental change, right? That's just happened over the mainstream media. It happens in Fox News. It happens in CNN. It happens in MSNBC. It happens everywhere that I look. Basically, there's a target audience for the media. And if you aren't in that target audience, then you're not going to be catered to, right? Like take MSNBC, for example. I think something like 95% of the people that watch MSNBC are Democrats, registered Democrat, vote Democrat. And Fox News, same thing, right? It's 95% of the people that watch Fox News are Republicans. Now, never mind the fact that there's a limited number of conservative media outlets that are, really big, right? That really have their name out there. There's really only a couple. Right, and Fox News is essentially the primary one. Whereas on the left hand side, there's a lot of them. There's CNN, there's MSNBC, there's NPR, there's a bunch, right? But even so, they all have target audiences. They all have basically this ideological platform that they adhere to. And when they go out looking for the news, it's like they comb through. You could have 20 items, and they just comb through all of it and only catch the items that basically promote their ideologies. And that's what you're going to hear. So I'm telling you, if you only listen to Fox News, you're getting it wrong. I'm telling you right now, you are getting it wrong. Same thing if you only listen to MSNBC, you are missing half the world. And for those of you who like to consider yourself knowledgeable about the topics that you're looking at, I can promise you that if you watch something on Fox News, for example, but you never get the other side's opinion, the other side's news reporting, the other side's scenario, then you won't be nuanced well enough to really discuss that topic in detail. Like I've seen countless times where a friend of mine, heard something on Fox News and they say, well, da 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 da, and then somebody comes back with a counter that they heard on the other side of the news world, and that person A is like, they're kind of lost. They don't really know what to say a lot of times because they hadn't even heard that the other thing happened, right? They hadn't even heard that there's another facet to this. So what I'm saying basically, and this is really, I'll leave you guys with this, is in order to get the news, in order to understand what you are looking for in the world, you need to look at everything. You need to look at Fox, you need to look at MSNBC, you need to look at Redacted, you need to look at like 5 other different channels to see what everybody has to say on it. And then after you have a well-rounded understanding of the news and you've taken notes, that's when you go online and start fact-checking each one of them individually. And remember now, when you go online, even online, there's going to be a bias, right? Especially with Google. Google is heavily slanted to the left. So you're going to have to fish, especially like if you're looking for something that essentially would be a promotion of conservative thought. You're going to have to dig for it, right? You're going to have to like hunt. It might be on the 2nd or 3rd or 7th page, right? But ultimately, that's what I encourage you guys to do. And that's what my process is. For any one of these items, I look at the left, I look at the right, I look at the center, and then I start fact-checking, piece at a time. Because I don't want to come online and feed you guys information that I really haven't checked, right? Like, I could be a puppet. I could tell you guys the same things I hear on Fox News or MSNBC. But then I feel like I wouldn't be doing you guys a service. What I hope to serve as in my role, what I truly desire to be is that next layer of thought, right? So like instead of just hearing the news from me, what I hope is that after hearing it from me, you will have heard a more well-rounded group that has been fact-checked, and that if I bring something to you, you can basically take it as a gold standard. Something else that they've lost track of, I think, like 50 years ago, the goal of news was to report the news, right? Something would happen, they would report it. Well, now what I'm seeing a lot of, and this goes for basically every media outlet that I've seen, is they're trying to become predictive models, right? It's like they're trying to be weathermen. And instead of just finding out that something happened and then reporting it, whether it's good for your candidate or your ideology or not, what they do instead is try to predict things. Like, so, for example, with the Trump and Russia collusion, right? They tried to basically say that there was Trump and Russia collusion, not based on the evidence that there already was Trump-Russia collusion, but rather because there was this one little thread, and so they just start tugging and trying to put that out there before they actually have the thread unraveled. And there's nothing wrong with tugging at a thread. I think that's good reporting. But what's wrong is when you put the story out there before you know that it's actually true, right? And the same thing happened with, Hillary and her emails. The same thing happened with basically every major incident that you can think of over the last 10 years. And some of them turned out to be true, right? Some of them, this news media outlet was a predictive model, but they got it right? Like if you think about all the stuff that happened during COVID, basically they're saying, oh, well, masks will protect you. Vaccines can stop the spread of the disease. But the thing is like, so both of those items were essentially predictive items. They didn't have any science behind that. They didn't have any kind of data, any study that really said that the vaccine was going to prohibit the spread of the disease. But they said it anyway because it's basically a prediction. They're saying, well, okay, this is going to protect us. How is it going to protect us? We think it'll probably protect us by preventing the spread of the disease, so let's say that. It sounds good. Let's say that, right? And so the problem is, I think what has happened is news, and any one of these items you may disagree with, but I understand it's not the item that's the point. What I'm trying to tell you is, the big point is that they've tried to become a predictive model. And so that's why news media gets so many things wrong right now, is because they were never intended to be a predictive model, right? The only predictions that we should take away are the ones that are naturally inferred from historical contexts, right? Like, last time this happened, this is how it played out. And there's nothing wrong with saying, last time this happened, this is how it played out. But there is something wrong with saying, this is how it will play out, right? That's when you start to lose people's trust, because then you've made a prediction. And if you're right, great. But what if you're wrong? And news media today gets it wrong over and over and over again. And they're only going to give you the predictions that you want to hear because you're their target audience, right? If you're on Fox News, they're going to predict that there's a red wave that sweeps the midterms. Did it happen? No, not really, right? So that's the thing. Like, you're only going to hear the predictions that really make you happy, that make you feel good, because that you're the target audience, and they're aiming to try to get your attention and your ratings. They want you to just stay tuned and just sit there the whole time. But understand this. If you stop at a single news outlet, you are making a mistake. What news outlets are supposed to do is they're supposed to report news that's already happened, not news that might happen in the future based on their thought patterns, based on their ideologies. What do you guys think? Put your comments below. I don't think that mainstream media is trustworthy anymore, and I count Fox News among the mainstream media, even though, usually when people say this, what they mean is CNN, MSNBC, basically all the things that aren't Fox News, which is kind of interesting. But I think Fox News is mainstream media. I think they all have the same problem. They're basically an ideological engine for either the DNC or the RNC, basically, or maybe even some puppet master behind the scenes that we don't even really know. But what do you guys think? Put your comments below, and I'll catch you next time on Couch Talk.